Nothing. Just
No, I'm just watching you like, hi guys, what's going on?
welcome.
It's because we have a veteran of television on the set.
Yes.
You're like, hi guys. You don't even want to put the usual spin in it.
No.
Well, welcome to the MegaMart Shopping Show. We're extremely happy that you can join us today. Thank you very much for coming on board. As we said before, we have a veteran. The name is synonymous with, of course, giving us great information. Evan Thompson, ladies and gentlemen, is here.
And
welcome,
he's the
sir.
director of the Met Office.
Yes.
Right? And of course, the Meteorological Service.
Yes.
Of course, if he's on set, you know we're going to talk about hurricanes.
Or it could be the rainfall season.
Yeah,
rainfall.
the rainy season generally.
But we are leading into the hurricane season, and of course, it's not a conversation we want to have at this time, given our current situation.
It's a good time to talk about it, because now we're going to be compounding a very interesting situation.
Yes, multiple hazards at the same time.
So welcome, sir.
Thank you. It's good to be back here at MegaMart.
It's a pleasure to have you.
I'm glad he said back here. He's clearly one of our mega shoppers. He says, welcome back here, so this is your place.
That's right.
Awesome.
First of all, I mean, Evan, you, as I said before, you've become that go-to person for us. We trust what you say.
Thank you.
And tell us to do, because you've proven yourself over the years, the Jamaicans, I think. How did you get involved? How did you get into wanting to be to do this?
Wow, I'm not even too sure where the first, what first encouraged me to go into meteorology, but I know that while I was in high school, I was visited by the then director of the Meteorological Service, and this was a few years ago. And that visit, he basically told us all about what was happening in the Met Service and what was happening with weather. And I just thought at that point in time that is what I wanted to do. And that was way back in high school, and I went through university, and here I am. Still,
must have been a very inspiring
inspiration.
Yeah,
that's what it's about,
a good number of years.
And I asked you earlier, since you got you were inspired in high school.
Yes.
What were the subjects? What were the subject matter of study that you had to focus on to pass to become a meteorologist?
Well, you know, your first introduction to meteorology is usually in geography or social studies for some. That's when you first hear about it. But the truth is, when we look for meteorologists, what we look for is somebody with a mathematical background and physics in your background. So it's really a science. No, calculations, that's right. Calculations, understanding the dynamics of the atmosphere, how things move, and how we calculate that movement, because it deals with the modeling of weather, climate patterns and that kind of thing. So it's a lot of calculation that's involved.
Hence, I am on the stage and he is the meteorologist. A lot of science, mathematics.
Science,
it lost me right there. That is it. but again, thanks so much that you decided to focus on it, because now you're doing great and you're helping so many people just kind of put their lives together or stay in order.
Yes.
And inspiring others, I'm sure, to join.
When is the hurricane season? When is it officially?
You know, that is such a good question, because it's something that
it's been shifted, right?
It hasn't actually officially been shifted. But the truth is, over the past 6 years, the hurricane season has gotten off to an early start, with systems developing before June. June 1 is really the beginning, the official start of the hurricane season. June 1, and it continues for 6 full months. It ends on the 30th day of November.
Okay.
But ever since 2014, 2015, we've been having tropical storms that have developed before June every month. There was one year, actually, that we had the first tropical storm early in January.
Wow.
All the way in January. And then since then, we have had in April, we have had in May, and the official start is really the first day of June.
So we've actually had our first named this tropical storm already.
For this year. That's right. We had Arthur. That's right. And it usually starts out in the western part of whether the Caribbean or in the Gulf of Mexico, or all the way to the west of the Atlantic, near to the eastern part of the United States.
Okay. So who names these things? Like who's responsible for naming each storm or weather system?
Well, let me tell you that there is a committee that meets every year. It involves the directors of meteorological services throughout the North America, Central America, and the Caribbean basin. We all come together every year, and we take a decision as to what the names will be for the next period. So there are first 6 lists, and we rotate those lists every time. After you complete that list, 6 years later, that list would come back. So with the same names. But if there is a system that was considered to be devastating, that a country would want to recommend that we let us strike this one out, let us retire this system.
So Gilbert is retired.
Gilbert is retired. Ivan is retired.
Ivan gone.
A number of them have already been retired. And every year that committee would meet. And actually, I am now the person who is responsible for the region.
So since you said that, Christopher has an idea about naming.
My responsibility, actually.
Yeah, good.
Yes.
Oh, so we need...
He has some inputs about how you should name.
Some cultural names in the thing, some modern names, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like the first one, Arthur could have been Itonia, you know what I mean? So that young people could identify.
You know, the directors actually come with names prepared.
Yes.
And really, we come with names prepared, especially, for instance, how we had Dorian last year that was problematic for the Bahamas.
Yes.
Quite likely the Bahamas is going to come prepared to retire. We don't want any more Dorian because it's going to bring stress on the people.
So like a B, what would you give a...
we would come prepared with another name that starts with the same letter.
Oh, and it's supposed to be male,
like
female.
Like a female name for B, right?
The first one is male, the second one is female.
That's right, female, and then the following year would be female and then male.
With a female name.
Female name?
Yeah.
B, or you mean D with the Dorian to change from...
No,
like we already gone from A, so now for B, what would we call that one?
B?
Yeah.
Babette.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds very Jamaican.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, that's right.
Well, okay,
Babette, come. Prepare.
Let's get into some more serious stuff, Evan. So this year's hurricane season it's already started. Arthur was out there, I think closer to Florida, I think.
Yes, yes, it moved from the, it developed very close to Florida and moved along the eastern seaboard of the U.S. Okay. It's dissipated now, though.
Okay.
What kind of season are you guys projecting? How are we looking for this year?
Well, the official forecast hasn't been made yet. I must put that out first because we normally do that in the last, just as the hurricane season is about to start. That's when we give the official list.
Okay.
However, there are a number of researchers who from time to time develop their prognosis of what they think is going to happen based on all the patterns and how things are trending. And most of them are actually saying that we will have an active season once again. Over the past number of years, the seasons have been active though.
Yes.
And they expect another active season, more active than normal, but they're not really expecting it to be as bad as last year. And last year, although we weren't impacted, it was really a very active season.
So to put
there were
things
about
into
18 storms that developed.
You said that normal versus above average or active.
What is
a normal?
Okay, a normal year is one that would have about 12 tropical storms develop for the whole season. That could be in the Caribbean, the Gulf of Mexico, or in the Atlantic Ocean, North Atlantic. If we have 12, that's an average. If we have 6 hurricanes, 6 of them developing to hurricanes, that's average.
Okay.
Normally about half of them turn into hurricanes. And then about half of that would be major hurricanes. So we'd have about 3 major hurricanes, 6 hurricanes in all, and about 12 of the tropical storms develop.
What I've noticed is that not only are we getting more hurricanes, like last year was very active,
yes,
but also the hurricanes, they've changed in terms of their veracity.
Yes.
They're much stronger these days.
Yes, we're seeing that. Dorian was a significant system developing quickly. That's one of the things that we expected to happen under climate change.
Right.
Because with the temperatures of the seas being warmer than normal and the atmospheric conditions changing in this way, we expect that there will be not necessarily more systems, but we expect them to be more intense, just as you were saying. And we also expect that the amount of energy that is in the system, it could keep them alive for a longer period of time.
Okay.
So we had a Hurricane Dorian that developed quickly to a major hurricane, and it stayed as a major hurricane and sat over some country. It was moving very slowly. I mean, that was
strong, but very slow.
That's correct. And if it's slow, you worry because it will sit over you for a long time, and it will continue to develop with the warm, as long as the temperatures, all the conditions are conducive.
In terms of Jamaica, is there a particular pattern or direction that hurricanes usually come from or hit us a point that hit us at? And
yes.
what should we be looking out for? What's the highway that these hurricanes
Okay,
normally
it
take?
varies at different points in the season. Because at the beginning of the season, we would tend to see them all the way in the Western Caribbean. So it might start out west of Jamaica, somewhere nearer to Mexico, or in the Gulf of Mexico, or near to Florida along the eastern seaboard of the U.S. That's where we would normally see them at the beginning of the season. That's about June. In July, we start to see them drifting more into the Caribbean. So maybe the Central Caribbean, we start to see some development. When we go into August and September, we tend to see more of them developing off the west coast of Africa, moving across the Atlantic and into the Caribbean or up toward the United States. So that's the general pattern. As we move to the end of the season, again, we see the development taking place in the west, in the Gulf of Mexico, Western Caribbean. So we would have had things like, I think, Mitch in 1998, and we had Michelle in 2001, and we had there was a strange one, what was it again, that moved actually from west to east. It developed near to Jamaica and it moved all the way to the east for the first time.
That was interesting, yeah.
Very, very strange.
That's
moving to the east. But anyway, generally, they start out in the west, develop in the Central Caribbean, and then in the Atlantic Ocean, and then again we move the genesis to the Western Caribbean again, to the end of the season.
So there are some things that you say affect a hurricane.
Yes.
For example,
and
like
development.
El Nino and La Nina.
Oh, yes.
Can you explain what those two things are?
That is a climate phenomenon, really, the El Nino phenomenon. That is where you have the temperatures of the sea surface in the eastern tropical Pacific Ocean, though that is higher than normal. So if the temperature of the seas near to Central America, but on the Pacific side, if those get very warm and stay warm for a long period of time, that is considered an El Nino phenomenon. And what happens with the El Nino is that it tends to change up climate patterns across the globe. Not only in the Pacific Ocean, even in the Atlantic, and it goes very far and wide.
So something that just develops in that specific area affects the entire globe.
Exactly. It changes the whole pattern. And so what happens for us in the Caribbean is that it tends to reduce the kind of activity for the hurricane season that we would normally expect. So if there is an El Nino, it normally means good things in terms of a hurricane season, but it means bad things in terms of rainfall, because usually we end up with droughts with an El Nino in Jamaica. When it's La Nina, it means that the Pacific Ocean is now cooler than normal, but then it means we get more rain in the Caribbean area and we get more hurricane activity as well.
All right, so one of the reasons why we like having this particular discussion inside MegaMart is so that we can tie things together with our guests and this particular establishment. So we definitely try to prepare as much as we can for the hurricane season. Obviously, this year, I can tell you straight up that we've been affected by a lot of the COVID issues and some of our supplies, but we definitely have supplies still, some on hand and some that are coming. What are some of the things that you recommend that people definitely at home get? They should definitely have
essentials
to prepare for essentials.
Well, the first thing is you must prepare. So I know COVID-19 is going to put a damper on a lot of people because you were kind of stocking up at home because you don't know when you're going to be going out and when you might get locked down.
Your spend might be affected.
People might not be earning as much, so they can't really go up and stockpile. But we need to be putting things aside little by little and keeping a store in your home in terms of enough supplies to last you for maybe 3 days, considering every member of the family, even considering the older people and the young people. Everybody in the family needs to be accommodated for at least a 3-day period where you might actually not be able to go out to your stores and the supplies might not be there or available to you. So those things must be put aside. I know there are challenges, but we have to do it little by little and keep it there. As soon as the season is over, get wild.
I like that.
Every time you go out, pick up an item and put it there. Of course, it can't be like meat and ice cream. Right.
So
it has to be things. Tin foods are great.
Those away.
And dry stuff, like the crackers and those kind of things that can stay a little bit longer, but you can keep them in your home. That's
you might want to get your flashlight, your battery-operated flashlights.
There are those supplies too, like the battery-operated radios are good. Make sure you have those and keep them, the batteries there.
The tarpaulins, some homes may need
That's right.
Tarpaulins.
Yes. If you need even some things like ply that you might feel that something might not be too secure,
Right.
either you get it secured immediately or at
Or
least
have
you put
something on
aside
hand.
some things that you can do. You must also have the tools that you can work with.
Yes.
So if you have any kind of tools here as well, that will also be useful to you if you need to do that
Kim
kind
mentioned
of work.
something earlier when we were just prepping for the discussion about medical supplies, and that's
Yes.
something that sometimes we just don't think
Yes.
about.
No, we don't think about
So
those
if you
at all.
have comorbidities like high blood pressure, diabetes, then you should ensure that you have enough medication to last you for at least 3 days.
That's
that
right,
you
that's
won't
true.
be able to go out. Or
Yes.
if you have young children, as we mentioned,
Yes.
that you have the essentials for them, maybe your anti-inflammatory, some cough medication,
Right.
That's
your
right.
first aid kit,
Yeah,
just in
asthmatic,
case.
you wanna
If
make
they're
sure you have that
asthmatic, you
supply.
have inhalers and so on.
Right.
And your pets.
Yes.
Do not forget about the pets.
Pets.
That's right.
We often forget the pets.
Yes.
Sometimes you hear that the hurricane starts, and that's when it starts. We say, "Oh, the dog is outside."
Yes.
Because we didn't think about
The
securing
dog or
the
the
dogs
cat.
or the cats. Or sometimes people who have farms definitely
The
have to be
animals,
moving
so
to
farmers
secure,
definitely
yeah.
think
To
about
secure
that.
areas, that's right.
So ensure you have enough feed for them, dog food or cat food, whichever pet you have. You
Right,
know,
and
at
if,
home.
for instance, you may be in an area that you think might need to be evacuated in that kind of thing too,
Yes.
you have to think about the pets in that
Yes,
situation
make
too, because you might not be
preparations.
able to take them to the shelter, so
Right.
you need to find somewhere else
High
that you can
ground
leave
to
them
keep,
and
yeah.
make those arrangements, and of course, the items that will sustain them, the food stuff for the animals.
A lot of people live in certain areas, but they don't know what the evacuation plan is for the area. They don't know even where to turn to for the plan.
Yeah.
Obviously, they can ask the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management for that area. I'm sure they have a plan for.
Right.
So there are
different sections of the
designated
island.
shelters, so you need
Shelters,
to know
that's
where
right.
your closest shelter is
Right.
and make sure that everyone in the family knows where the shelter is, just in case the hurricane catches them elsewhere as well. Everybody knows where you're to meet as a family.
That's right.
Evan, before you have to leave, because you know you're very busy, but the categories of hurricane storms, can you give us that breakdown in terms of
Okay.
why we call one a tropical storm as opposed to a hurricane, or
Okay.
just
Quite
something?
often you'll hear us talk about tropical waves first of all, because
Right.
they start out as waves. It might start out really as a cluster of thunderstorms somewhere. So we might say an area of disturbed weather. When you hear that peak, listen a little bit longer,
Yes.
and then that might now develop into a tropical wave. That is usually, it's similar to like when you shake a rope and you see the wave move in the rope, or you
Okay.
touch water and the wave moves.
Right.
That's what happens in the atmosphere as well. So you have the waves in the atmosphere, and those can carry the energy as you move along. So those waves come with the clouds, and you see those moving closer and closer to certain areas.
Right.
So when you hear about the wave, it usually means the beginnings of something.
Okay.
And then that could, if it starts to develop a kind of rotation, this is because the Earth is rotating on its axis, so there are certain forces that are at play, and that tends to cause an anticyclonic rotation of the wind pattern around the systems. So when it develops a closed circulation, we refer to it as a depression. So it starts as the wave, but then it becomes a tropical depression as long as there's a circulation that is closed.
Okay.
If the strength gets high enough, it may be classified as a tropical storm, because after a depression, when it reaches a certain threshold, we refer to it as a storm.
Right.
When it gets past another threshold, which would be 74 miles per hour or 118 kilometers per hour, then we say it's a hurricane. And then when it gets past another threshold, we say it's a major hurricane.
Okay.
So you have tropical waves becoming tropical depressions,
Okay.
becoming tropical storms, becoming hurricanes, and then becoming major
Different
hurricanes.
categories. Okay.
That's right.
We saw earlier this year the very first cyclone developed
Yes.
close to India.
That's
I believe it was.
Okay.
How different is a cyclone as opposed to a hurricane?
Hurricane. Okay. Very good question. He asked some good questions.
He does.
I'm trying here. I'm trying to stay with the class.
He's prepared, yeah.
The cyclones in our region, the area of the Atlantic, Caribbean, Gulf of Mexico,
Right.
we call all those circular systems tropical cyclones.
Okay.
So a tropical depression, a tropical storm, and a hurricane are all tropical cyclones.
Okay.
However, when we move to other regions, you talked about like India.
Right.
They now talk about cyclones, which are hurricanes. It's the same as hurricanes.
Oh.
So they talk about cyclones in that area. When we talk about another area now farther east, then we talk about typhoons.
Typhoons, right?
They are the same.
Okay.
Typhoon,
Just classified
cyclone,
differently based on the
hurricanes,
area.
the same thing depending on the area.
They just look
That's right.
gigantic though. Like when you hear about that,
It's the same
just
thing,
sounds
and the
scary.
classification in terms of category 1, 2, 3
Yeah.
is similar.
similar.
That's right.
Well, Evan, what can we say?
A wealth of knowledge.
I'm telling you, I'm like,
We could go on for a really long time.
Well, you know what, guys?
It was wonderful.
It was very important. You know, MegaMart is a place that you can come to get your supplies, and that's going to be
Yes.
very needed. I like what Evan is saying. You know, start early.
Yes.
Develop a bank in your home.
That way it doesn't seem stressful.
Exactly.
If one is named and it's coming, it's going to make landfall. You don't feel pressure.
So while you're doing your regular shopping at MegaMart,
I want to give the shoppers a little tip.
Hey.
Because maybe now is a good time, since you have some curbside pickup.
Yes.
You know, maybe now is a good time to get that little stock. So
Yes.
call and say you want to come in and
Yes,
collect, and you
and
come
pick
and you
up.
pick up those items and you put them aside from
Yes.
now, so that it makes things easier if you have that opportunity to do it, and you don't
Yeah.
have to walk up and down and do all the.
So make a list, send it to our curbside service, your little hurricane preparedness essentials, and we'll put those together for you, and you'll pick that up at our curbside pickup.
you can tell Evan is a curbside person because he's
Yeah.
very busy. He has to stop and get his stuff
That's
and go.
right.
Can't keep him waiting.
I'm telling you, we have one question from the team that we wanted to ask. Somebody wanted to know why is it that most of the hurricanes come to this region from off the African coast?
Okay. Well, during the middle part of the season, that's when most of them come from the Western Africa,
Right.
move across the tropical Atlantic.
Can I answer the question?
Sure.
That's because of the northeast trade winds, people. That's part of all that wind belt that comes off the coast of
You
Africa.
go.
Can I take a bow?
Yeah, take a bow.
My geography class
Yes.
teacher just said, the boy was listening. But yeah, that's one of the reasons why, right?
That is one of the reasons why,
Yes.
yes, so they will move from east to west. And then the rotation is because of the forces, but
Right.
they can't develop too close to the equator. If they are too close, they'll dissipate.
Okay.
Because of the rotation, it has to be at least 5 degrees from the equator. Yes.
That was the northeast.
It's why
So that's why
physics is important.
Trinidad doesn't really get.
Yeah, they're so
Yeah.
lucky over there. Trinidad.
Hardly ever.
And Barbados, they're like,
Barbados occasionally.
Maybe
they're
they'll
too
get
far
a
down
little
north.
tip of it.
Yeah,
they'll get a
sometimes.
little bit
but the
more.
Trinis always get away.
Yeah,
That's why
they're so far down.
Yes,
So
Guyana almost never sees
Soca
it.
parties
you know,
where
on
we're
the
having
coast.
hurricanes.
Yeah.
Evan, thank you so very
You
much.
are welcome. It's a pleasure.
For coming on. We learned so much today. Like this was like a real university class for me. I was like, yo,
Yeah.
this
You
is
got
nice.
a front row seat
I'm telling you.
to the best lecturer you could possibly get.
Oh, wow.
Thank you so
Okay,
very
that's
much.
sweet.
Really
You are
appreciate it.
welcome.
Yes, so please take heed from the lessons, guys. Come down to MegaMart, start early, start preparing for the season. It's something that's coming. It's not gonna just go away.
Yes,
It's coming.
Yes,
It's like a pregnancy,
coming,
right?
and
It's coming.
it is on the 1st of June that it starts,
Right.
and it continues for 6 months until November ends. Don't relax, just wait and keep alert.
Stay safe. So stay prepared.
Yes.
Come to MegaMart, get your stuff.
And of course, go to trusted places for information. So of
Yes.
course, you can visit your website.
That's right, metservice.gov.jm. And we also have a Twitter handle, so it's at metserviceja. So you can
Please
get
follow them
information
on
from
Twitter.
there as well.
And watch the news all the way to the end. Watch the weather.
That's right.
Like that.
Watch the weather.
Watch the news all the way.
I love the weather.
We're gonna close on that one. Watch the news all the way to the end, please. Watch the news generally. Thank you so much, Evan Thompson,
It's a pleasure.
Director of the Meteorological
you.
Service of Jamaica. And folks, listen, he was supposed to just do 15 minutes, but he took the whole show today. But
And he may come back.
rightly so.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. I asked him to come and help me to put this on. I should never. But it's pretty easy. But you see, for folks who have to get out there during the rainy weather, this is very important for you to have total coverage. And this is pretty good. This is really good. It's stable, very strong. And it covers everywhere, as you can see. Kim, you see it? I'm fully covered. I'm ready for the rain. All right, so folks, we were just telling you that MegaMart has the supplies you need to prepare for this hurricane season. And there you go. We have our lanterns. We have our light. We have tarpaulins right there. We also have our flashlights up here. And like Kim said, we have some supplies that are actually coming as well as we get closer to the season. We want you guys to come out get prepared, start from early. Evan said a great thing, you must have your bank. That's your hurricane preparedness bank. As you shop in MegaMart, you're picking up some food items for the week, pick up one item for that bank and make sure you're prepared. All right, this entire aisle down here, we also have some buckets and basins right over there. So we have other colors as well. So if you don't like yellow in these rain cloaks, you can actually have your green. You know what I mean? I like this army green looking one. And we have others as well for, this is more like just like a covering, but it's an adult one. It's really, really, really good. Convenient. You just slip it right over and you're ready to go. Folks, get your supplies. Get them early because the hurricane season is coming. It's not something that's just going to disappear. You know what I mean? For real. Ready? You don't know, I'm going to make some deliveries right now. Kim, where the bike there? Look like, where's the delivery service? I deliver some pizza right now. Pizza now late. What you do? Go, stay there.
Where have you been?
How come you didn't come and help me put my rain cloak on?
I didn't know you were gonna do
I
that.
thought you were gonna help. It took me quite some time to get dressed. Listen, this thing is.
How old are you? We need
It's
help
no,
to get
it's
dressed?
look here. I had to put the
Oh, that's
suspenders
cool.
stuff on.
Turn around.
See, it's nice.
It is nice.
I'm keeping this on for the day. It's the new style. I like it. This is my hurricane COVID-proof suit.
It's like 2 for 1.
Yeah. Try to sneeze on me. Try to sneeze on me. See? I'm blocking you out.
You can't walk up
Just
and down
not
like
try
that,
walk. Just stay one place.
Yeah.
Hey, I had a good time with Evan Thompson today. Like, he's so knowledgeable, right?
He's a good guest.
Yes,
We
very,
should
very
have
good.
him back there.
Hope you guys learned something today, right?
Yeah.
So you have some tips?
Yes.
You
we
remember the tips?
Yes. Review your emergency plan.
Review your emergency plan.
Right. With
Right.
every member of the family.
Yes.
Everybody's on board.
Everybody's au fait with what's going on.
Check your
supplies.
emergency supplies.
Right.
So ensure you have your non-perishable food,
Right?
water,
Your batteries.
your right.
All the supplies you
all the
need
essentials.
for at least 3 days.
Medication.
Yes.
And don't forget stuff for your pets.
Pets.
Yes.
Yes.
Bruno and Rufus
Yeah.
need to be accounted for in the
And
plan.
look out for the pets on the outside too. Because sometimes it's not just the in-house dog. The outside dog need. Yeah,
You
understand?
mean mongrel?
Yeah, look out for the mongrel.
Okay.
Right.
And plan an evacuation route.
Yes.
So based on where your shelter is,
Yeah, know
the
your
route
evacuation
that
route.
you're going to take to get there.
Right. Or the shelter. Know
Or
where
the shelter.
is. Yeah.
Secure your important documents. So you know your passport, your birth certificate,
Yes.
your immunization card.
So let's ask Mummy where those are. Because Mummy alone know.
Maybe put those in a
Plastic bag and you seal it.
Seal it.
And you keep it in a specific area. So you know where it
Right.
is.
Make sure you have enough water for everybody.
Water, yes.
Right. For at least 3 days, he said.
And food supplies, you know, you come to MegaMart for that.
Yes.
Come here for your
And
non-perishables.
listen to the official announcements from the relevant person. So
Right.
the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency
So
Management.
follow them on Twitter. Make
and
sure you're following.
on social media.
Right.
And of course the Met Service, Meteorological Service of Jamaica.
And make sure you have your radio, the battery radio too.
Before we go though,
What?
well, make sure you have those tips. But before we go, I want to say a special thank you to KW Bloombox
Oh,
for this
yeah.
beautiful arrangement we had on set
That is
today.
nice.
This beautiful
That's
orchid.
really nice.
And
She
it's
got
in a
little
bird-
birds on it. You see the little birds?
Yes, it's very cute. And this
That's
little wooden
cool.
stone.
KW Bloom Box.
Box. Yes.
I like it.
Very
KW
nice.
Bloom Box.
Complemented
I
our
like
set very well.
it. I'm gonna water it right now.
We have hoses too.
Yeah, no.
We have gardening hoses.
So I'm gonna plug in right now.
Yeah. So be sure to follow us on social media at MegaMart Jamaica on Facebook and Instagram for all the behind the scenes. Do not pay him any mind.
Hey, me I feel a vibes it up. Follow me to the new dance. Follow me to the new dance. Follow me to the new dance. Rain. Cover the rain and no rain. No rain can sister. Hey, no rain. Yeah, man.
That's what the new hurricane
Full
things are.
cover. Hit them. Full cover. Full cover. Full cover. Full cover. Let me see you. Full cover. Full cover. Yeah. You like it? I'm sure you're not full cover. You're not full. You're not covered. You're not covered. I'm covered.